All right, good evening. This is our October 15th, 2013 Rhinebeck Town Board meeting, and we'll start, as usual, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody have announcements tonight?
Thank you, Tom. Yes,
It's on.
I just wanted to let everybody know that we had our Household Hazardous Waste Disposal Day hosted at the Highway Department, and it was a great turnout. We had about 140 people who showed up, and more than just about 50% of those households were Rhinebeck residents. So I think it's a great service that we've been able to provide, and I just wanted to report on its success. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Any further
hosting
announcements? All right. So let me see. We'll first approve the September 23rd, 2013 minutes. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. A presentation tonight from our Open Space Affordable Housing Committee, and that'll be from John Mensch. And ready to go, Mr. Mensch.
Hello. Yes, Jonathan Mensch. I'm the co-chair of the Open Space and Affordable Housing Committee. Okay.
I think if you... No.
It's that little knob. Try that one.
Thank you. Is this better?
Sounds good.
Elvis.
Okay. Well, I'm in front of you tonight because I think, as most of you know, we worked the agreement out with the Gardens, and we're offering for sale the workforce housing units as part of their phased development program. And there are a total of 4 units that were entered into the workforce housing program. Of those units, one of them has been sold. We've had others under contract. One of the things that's happened as the sales process has gone on is that we found that the interest in the garden units for the workforce housing units is pretty identical in terms of the type of people that are looking at it as the rest of the development. It's typically an older crowd. A lot of that has to do with the fact that these are 1 and 2 bedroom units, so they're smaller. But one of the things that we had hoped to do as part of the workforce housing program is to appeal to a slightly broader audience. We got together with David Silver, and we met with Hudson River Housing in the last couple of weeks. David suggested to us that one way that we might be able to broaden our audience a little bit is to do some advertising. They've spent a lot of money advertising that project in general. It's been very successful. It has been mostly towards more of a senior audience, but they've been successful in selling the units. And what David offered to us was to release some of the funds that he had earmarked for the project in general, the $360,000, to allow us to take out regional advertisements. We're thinking of things like the Observer, local newspapers, just to create some additional visibility for the program. And in doing that, we're hoping that we can try to introduce it to some people that might not be aware of it, that fit our target profile. Some people, hopefully single parents with some kids, you know, a type of buyer that would be good to have serviced as part of the project. The other thing that David and Hudson River Housing said had happened is that there was a big pop right out of the gates. The project had a lot of visibility. It sort of slowed down. So by doing a little more advertising, we're hoping to sort of gear it up a little bit again. So we're asking for $5,000. I don't know if we would have to spend that. We haven't gone through the process yet of talking to the local newspapers. We'd be hoping to work out some deals. We're hoping we can do things for less. David also offered to let us use both his marketing material and have access to the people that he's been working with to come up with their marketing material so that we could tailor the ads, use what he's done, and then tailor it to the workforce housing program. So we're here tonight to ask the town board's permission to allow David to release those funds for us to use for the advertising program that we're envisioning.
Tom, we have a resolution to allow up to $5,000 to be used. I don't know if you want to consider the resolution now while this is fresh in our mind, or,
I'm sorry, the question I have is, these funds are the funds he set aside to help us offset the cost? So we'd be diverting them from
Yes.
offsetting the cost to advertising the sale of this project, in a sense, for affordable housing and the developer?
For affordable housing, I wouldn't say for
Workforce
the, I wouldn't
housing.
say, yeah, I wouldn't say for the developer. He's already spent a huge amount of money advertising this project. What we'd be doing is putting out an advertisement that would be geared towards the workforce housing component of that project.
The
I think
other
before,
que-
go ahead.
The other question I have is that you said single parents with children. That's seems somewhat discriminatory.
That's an example.
in term-
I shouldn't
in-
have highlighted a particular group like that. I was using an
is
example
it-
that came to mind as I was
Should we
standing
be
here.
looking at maybe looking at other properties that we could capture? Or, I mean, I know we're talking specifically about the gardens, but.
Well, that's exactly what you're getting at, Elizabeth. It's exactly what we were trying to raise the money to do. So that's why it's important for us moving forward to have the resources available to get different types of properties. And I mean, we've definitely, as a committee, talked about once we have the funds available, buying larger single-family houses, things like that. And that's absolutely something that we'd look to do.
Okay.
In this particular development,
This is what's available.
it's
I
what's
understand.
available. He's agreed to sort of play ball with us in terms of providing the funding that we're using to offset the cost to doing this. So, it's sort of, the situation is what it is with this product type. And what we're just trying to do is make people that might not be aware of it right now, especially people that live locally, more aware of this opportunity.
I think the last question I have is there a media plan?
No, we don't have a media plan.
I would be reluctant to vote on committing, personally speaking for myself, without a broader media plan of where it's going to reach and how.
Yeah, we didn't want to go through the process of negotiating with a bunch of the different local newspapers. This has come up really in the last week and a half or so. And before really sort of going down the whole road and talking to them all and seeing what is and isn't possible, we wanted to start by talking to the board and just seeing if the board was open to the idea of allowing David to release the funds for this purpose. If that was something that was possible, Sally and I had this conversation very recently. We would start the process of trying to work towards creating a very cost-effective way to do this and try to leverage the goodwill, hopefully, that's out there for this property locally to our advantage from a marketing perspective.
You got something, Gina? Okay. Yeah, what
I
you were saying.
I thought, like Elizabeth, I'd like to see the media plan, and I also would like to see what the ads are going to say. I want to make sure that if those funds are being released specifically for that purpose, that it's targeted directly to the people that we're targeting that housing for. And maybe there is a better way to get that word out to that community. I'm not sure.
What they've done so far, and this is Hudson River Housing who's been tasked with marketing it, what they've done is they had a press release, they had a press conference. That was generating some interest early on.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that was nice. It was a nice way to start things. They've also put up a lot of flyers, which are at really no cost, in the hospital, at the school, in the town hall, the places, the sort of obvious places. And they've also been doing in-person visits to some of those sites to follow up on that. That puts a certain level of visibility in certain places. Our hope by doing this is that we could create something that was a little bit broader. And we were a little bit, to some degree, we were going off of David's recommendation in that he really emphasized to us how effective the regional advertising has been to him. We do have a little bit of a catch-22 in the sense of if we're going to come up with the marketing material, especially if we're going to come up with the marketing material using some of David's resources, there's going to be some cost to that. And then there's also just the exercise of going through the creation of the media plan, which,
something you wanna say with this?
if the town board's attitude was, this is not how we want to spend the money, we probably wouldn't spend the time, if that is clear.
Well, let me just mention, I've been mentioning this at town board meetings. I would urge the board, though, not to try to micromanage this. We're only talking about a few $1,000s here if we're going to use, if the committee's going to use that. We meet every 2 weeks, they meet every 2 weeks. You know, we're just going to delay the process if we want to see the text of the ads, if we want to see where they'll be. I would urge that we just allow the committee to use up to 5,000 and not try to micromanage it.
Well, I took out a series of ads professionally in a local paper, and they did the entire ad for me at no charge whatsoever, in addition to the cost
did
of
they
the
run
running
the
of the
ad?
Yeah.
They ran it
For
free?
6 months. No, for 6 months. But
Oh,
there was
okay.
no cost in the making up of the ad.
But you committed on the front end to actually
Yeah.
run, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, for us, it's just a question of if this seems like a good idea, then we would go through the exercise of putting it into place. But we didn't want to, and again, this is coming up.
Did you know which papers, are we talking about local papers that serve Rhinebeck?
We're definitely talking about local papers that serve Rhinebeck. We would look into some of the pricing for some of the regional papers, but the purpose of what we're doing is trying to increase the visibility right here in Rhinebeck.
We're talking about Poughkeepsie Journal,
We talked
The
about that.
Observer.
Yeah, the Observer is easy because that's local. The question was whether. Yeah,
Freen.
yeah.
Does our web, and I'm sorry, I'm the liaison to the web, and I don't know this off the top of my head, whether or not our web policy allows us to advertise for something like this, which is a town-sponsored. It might seem to me that it would, you know.
It's a town program, so there's no problem with that. It's not a conflict.
Well-
That's what
But if
you're
you
talking
remember,
about.
I asked that it be put on the web. You referred me to send the ad to the chair of the web committee. I haven't heard.
I'll follow up on that,
Yeah.
because that would be great, free, you know.
Yeah, and we had talked about that actually at the last meeting, how that was something that we would like to see put into place.
John, do you know if it's up on the web or we haven't heard back? I know Joan was going to check.
So we
with
have
her.
a quarterly meeting scheduled.
All right, so if there's no more comments, I'll make a motion, and I need a second to approve $5,000, up to $5,000 for advertising for workforce housing at the Gardens. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
I would like to wait and see the
Yeah,
plan.
I think it's too soon.
So that'll be 3-2 vote in the motion rule.
Okay.
So approved. That's item 8 on your business items. Thanks, John. Appreciate your presentation. We have, next on our list is liaison reports, if anybody has any comments for their committees. Liaison reports?
I do.
The
oh,
dog
go
park
ahead.
is now fenced in.
Nice.
We
Bruce.
haven't got all the rules printed up yet and all the other things, but you can actually run your dog around in there. There's a small dog section and a big dog section. The docks came out today, and we're getting over that. And the boilers in here, there's workarounds. Bobby has replumbed it a little bit, so the steam is going into the catch pit. Bottini is coming in with 2 specialists to work with him on whatever's left to do, because we're trying to prevent having to replace the whole boiler system this year. All of the other valves had been done. We already had them in stock. Bobby did all that himself. So he's got a couple more parts that he's got to order, and we're keeping our fingers crossed with this one.
Do I need to bring my heaters from home for downstairs
No,
this
no,
winter?
but if you want to have a sauna downstairs, it's really, we can do that right now.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I don't know, I thought this was on the agenda. I think it was requested by the zoning office, but as far as a logging fee, did anyone hear about that?
Yes, there was an email.
Okay, we've been requested, I thought it was requested to be put on the agenda, John, I'm sorry. just tell me how we should proceed legally, but
Have you got a schedule, a fee schedule?
yes.
Okay.
Well, we had a request from someone who wants to do logging. Other communities, Fishkill does $550, Hyde Park charges $550, Esopus does $150. So I was thinking, looking at our other fees, that we should maybe do $500, and that's what the office downstairs suggested would work as well. And then, depending on the extent of the logging operation and the acreage that they have, a certain amount of money would be set aside in escrow, all depending on the individual
A $500
Plus.
flat fee depending, like, what does
For logging.
logging mean? Does it mean,
harvesting.
are we doing this on parcel size? What if it's a 100-acre parcel? That would be the same fee as a 5-acre parcel?
I don't know. I don't know. I think every parcel would be looked at by the CAB, by the zoning board, and the planning board to make sure that there were no wetlands. That's all going to be done no matter, but this one person came in and wants to do some logging. So we are the only town surrounding that doesn't have a logging fee. So I think we do need to establish one. When the application is accepted, it will go through all of
Now,
that.
ag and markets over, farm and ag, markets, ag and farm oversees logging, right? It's under their
Yes.
purview. Do they
Yes.
have any guidelines for this?
Yes, they do.
Right. I think it's a good idea. I can't.
Well, we can't even accept an application if we don't have a fee for it.
It's
So
almost
it
like a
seems like,
zoning issue, isn't it? Zoning
Yes,
law?
it
So
came out of the zoning
That might be
office
something that you
today.
might want to have to, you mean from Christian? Or
Jadine.
from, Jadine, okay.
someone walked in and said they wanted to,
We don't have any, if we have something written up, I think it'd be easier for us to swallow here. I don't understand, I understand what you're
Okay.
saying, but to put something together, we should probably see something put together and
I also think
how you want
acreage
to,
should be
you know, what you
taken
want to do
into
with that.
consideration.
It's a zoning issue, I think, correct? So, I mean, we would have to
Michael?
create this and adopt it. Yeah.
okay. So we can't do a fee until we,
I think we got to create a law and then a fee to attach it to, a schedule
Okay.
to attach to, as I understand it. Is that, let's bring it up to John Lyons, I think?
Well, Warren is our town attorney.
Yeah, John's our land use attorney, right?
I think it's a
Yeah.
town fee issue.
Yeah, okay.
I think
I'll
ag
call
and
Warren
markets
tomorrow.
oversees it, and I think that acreage is something to take into consideration.
We also need to consider a forester, professional forester, to get involved in that.
okay.
The DEC or, yeah. other-
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow then.
Right.
Other liaison, anyone else?
Cemetery's coming up later, so that's fine.
I went to the end of year Public Access Northern Dutchess Alliance meeting, which was pretty fantastic. And having been involved with Panda years ago to reform it in 2008, it's great to see how far they've come. The studio's really vibrant. They've got amazing equipment, a lot of great volunteers. It's an amazing community asset, so that was good to attend that. Also, I reached out to our county executive to find out when we might hear about our technology grant. We were supposed to know at the end of September. And I spoke to his secretary, who said it would be another week, but that we should be pretty happy when we hear out about what's going to be released. So I'll follow up again next week. But hopeful that we're going to get some grant money to cover that.
Elizabeth, I had spoken to the person who did the grant application for the group of towns with respect to building
Unicity,
department
right.
software. He indicated that there was a press conference scheduled for Friday in Hyde Park, which hopefully means that we may be successful, because we're one of the towns that Hyde Park was the lead for, so.
Fantastic. I'll follow up again. I'm hoping that we're
All signs
somewhere on
point to
the,
yes.
Hopefully, these good rumors will come to
some
fruition.
money for the town, yeah.
Right, any further?
No, that we do have a quarterly web meeting, as I said, and I will follow up on our policy for advertising town-sponsored an initiative like this, which is a town-sponsored commercial thing.
Oh, one other thing, we're going to cut the lights at the rec park at 7:30.
Oh. Are they going to lower our bill for that, or is it still the same bill?
I have no idea
No,
anymore.
it's the
Stay
same,
the same.
it's the same bill.
Run them 24 hours a day and it's the same.
It's the same bill, but that's good because I
ridiculous.
was just speaking to an adjoining landowner who was very upset. And when I said it's the same charge, he said, yeah, but it still shines.
Oh, that's, Elizabeth, I know you were CC'd on this email. This isn't really liaison, but we've had some requests about more than one day open at the transfer station. Is this the proper place to comment on that?
Yeah, I had a couple of emails from I guess
Yeah.
September 1st, we went back down to our winter schedule of just Saturday. Is there any way we could get the Thursday afternoon open again, Bruce?
We can bring them in, renegotiate the contract.
Is that up for renegotiation? I know we were talking about it. It's not? Okay.
What, 30 days, or?
It's we have a 3-year
But
contract.
I mean, to
It seems like since the village stopped garbage pickup,
There's a lot
it
more.
is more active. And the guys that run the transfer station said the same thing. And people have said the same thing. So I think it behooves us to bring them in and see about how we could get one weekday added.
just get Thursday back online.
Just do that.
Well,
We could get, I think it's a 90-day thing to break the contract.
30 days or 90,
I thought it was
something?
90 days, but that's if you wanted to.
We don't want to break it.
No, you don't
yeah.
want to break it, but that's the, I think you have a 90-day thing notice to give them if you wanted to. I think, it might be, usually is. But there's nothing to say that we can't approach them and talk to them about it first with the circumstances of the villages and
Yeah,
their
I think
service.
it's
So-
been
I
a lot
think
of
Bruce,
strain on
I think Bruce has a good working relationship with them.
I
think.
used to, I don't anymore.
Well, I would suggest maybe bring them in either at a workshop or a town board meeting. The worst they can do is say no, and we're not any
Better
worse
probably to
off
speak
than where we are now.
You want somebody else to call? You want to brief someone? And
Why don't we have them, ask them to come in? We can all talk to them.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right.
Okay.
Anything
Yes,
else
spread the
from
pain.
liaisons? Before we have business items, we'll have a public comment period, and I'll just open up any comments for anything anybody has to say from the community. Anything?
Good evening. Linda Murray, Town of Rhinebeck resident. Last month, a group of residents came before you to oppose the Northern Dutchess Hospital expansion project. They introduced a petition, they packed the town hall, they spoke against changing the gateway to Rhinebeck. They asked you to sue the village zoning board because the board allegedly violated the state environmental quality review rules. And the village zoning board apparently failed to comply with the comprehensive plan. The applicant was HealthQuest. In response, the town board members publicly commended the group for showing up. The town board listened to one spokesperson, Ms. Long. The town board turned to the applicant to answer the public's concerns. One town board member questioned the supervisor for presiding over the public comment period, suggesting recusal was in order due to a possible conflict of interest. This was bemoaned by the crowd. In turn, the applicant, HealthQuest, responded to the public's concerns. In just one meeting, the project changed in response to the public's comments and concerns about open space preservation. It made front-page news. It was encouraging to see how the public's outcry was addressed by our town government, the applicant, and even the news media. Or was it? Not so much for my interested group of residents. You see, Ms. Long and I have a few things in common. I was here last month, too. I was discussing the community's needs at the recreation park. I've emerged as the spokesperson, perhaps an unenviable position, for some Rhinebeck residents and youth sports advocates. We, too, have packed Town Hall. and have done so on several occasions. We've appeared before your planning boards to cry out over the inadequacies in playing fields at the Thompson-Mazzarella Park. I've seen many town board members there, so I know you're aware of the interest in our community that's been expressed in this project. Like the Northern Dutchess Hospital Group, youth sports advocates presented a petition asking for more soccer fields. Lacrosse asked for more fields. Nearly 20 people spoke out urging the applicant, in this case the town, to put more recreational playing fields at the rec park. Also, like the Northern Dutchess Hospital Group, Rhinebeck residents have been pleading with our town government, but we've been doing so for nearly a year, to have the needs of our youth sports programs addressed. Like Ms. Long made a presentation, we've been doing so for nearly a year. Several residents made numerous presentations. A needs analysis for fields was offered. An online petition, a handwritten petition of nearly 200 names was turned over. Legitimate seeker concerns were raised. Can the town board even proceed with a seeker analysis from nearly 5 years ago when the project has changed so much? Unlike Ms. Long, the town board nor the planning board has said or done anything to address the athletic concerns. In fact, at the last town board meeting, it was alluded to that the petition might have been misplaced from the town files. I hope that's not so. Meanwhile, it's been nearly a year, and the meeting minutes from the PAC Planning Board meeting have never been published on the town's website for people to inform themselves about this project. The Panda videotape from the December 17th meeting was paused precisely and unfortunately at the moment when an intensive engineering presentation was being done by Mr. Murray to the planning board showing viable places for future playing fields. As a result, Robert Murray's presentation was never recorded for the public to view and understand. The needs analysis the town paid the LA group to do revealed that this rec park could fulfill the needs of our athletic community. These findings seem to be all but ignored. The master plan says the new rec fields will take 17 acres of agriculture out of production, yet the park committee has proposed only 5.4 acres of playing fields on 84 acres. Meanwhile, the national standards show Rhinebeck falls dismally low in meeting rec needs. The project is proposing less than 5% of space towards new active rec playing fields. Unlike the Northern Dutchess Hospital Group and the town board's response, no one from the town board has addressed the seeming conflict of interest, as was done with the Northern Dutchess Hospital Group, of having the rec park committee's design team, seemingly led by the president of Winnicke, or disclose that town board and planning board members voting on this project are also on the Winnicke board. Winnicke's Land Trust public mission statement is to preserve open space and expand walking trails. This should not be the mission statement for our rec park. But it should come as no surprise that Phase 1 of our rec park, seemingly being led in design by Winnicke, has no playing fields being constructed for use by our kids. I wish the town was as responsive to its residents as HealthQuest is being to Rhinebeck's residents. Lucky for you, Miss Long. We all benefit from open space. At the same time, ensuring that our children and even our adults are engaged in rigorous physical activity, living healthy, and have access to youth development and safety should be equally, if not more important, than preserving open space in our only rec park. We have plenty of space to incorporate playing fields, along with the beautiful open space on the 84 acres we have there. I toil to understand why having rec fields is such a terrible thing in our rec park. I anticipate that you'll say it's not, but what will you actually do? Will you act for all the residents who have varying concerns in the community? Or will you only act for the residents that seek to preserve open space, even if it means denying the children who have no voice access to play on fields and keep them out of trouble and keep them healthy. There's an election in just a few weeks. What will you do about the rec park? Will you put all of Rhinebeck first, or just some of Rhinebeck first? Lots of people are eager to know before November 5th. No one who is running from either side of the ticket has told Rhinebeck what they will do for our children or our young families. The next meeting is October 22nd, next Tuesday, before the planning board. I hope some of the town board members are there and ask the applicant, the town, what it's doing with this rec park and if it's really meeting the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for your comments. Any further comments from the public on anything?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Juan Muniz. I'm a resident here in the Hudson Valley, and also for disclosure's point of view, I volunteer at the Northern Dutchess Hospital at the Thompson House, have been for the last 5 years. And what I came here today is because of what I read in the paper about the outcry of the expansion, and I find it a little bit disconcerting. For the simple reason is that I actually walked the space, I've looked at what's been offered, and the expansion is very minimal. It's very minimal, the impact that I can see. Personally, I would caution the board or ask them to consider that what we're really talking about, be it called green space, in this particular case, is really some grass. It's not an open space. This is a confined area, and the part that's being expanded is minimal. And now I'm very encouraged to hear that they've actually gone even further to where it's 80% now preserved. You know, so we're talking a lot better. But what I came here to say is that from the board's point of view, really, it should be a moral issue. This hospital alleviates pain and suffering. That's what they do. This is not a Walmart, okay? If it was a Walmart, I'd be on the other side, okay? But this is not a Walmart. This is a hospital. It alleviates pain and suffering, and sometimes worse. The life that could be saved could be my own, yours, or someone we love. And I would not compare it to a clump of grass that we can plant more of, and that we have plenty of. Okay, I'm not saying to eliminate open space. I love open space. I love green space. But in this particular case, I think that due diligence should be made that what are the pros versus the cons. That hospital is necessary. That wing, the fact that someone in today's economy would be willing to actually build this wing. We're talking about operating rooms. We're talking about facilities that when you're injured, time is of essence. And I know because I said I've been volunteering for 5 years, and 5 minutes can be the difference between making and not making.
Mr. Munez, very eloquent. Did you want to go across to the Village Hall and say it there as well? You would
I
get
didn't
twice
know this was the venue.
Yeah, you could do twice. You would get double the audience, which would be great, because they're meeting there tonight, starting at 7:15. So you might want to check across the street as well. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Further comments in the public? Sam.
Good evening, Sally Mazzarella. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but I'd like to just respond on behalf of the Winnicke Land Trust in terms of its involvement with our town park. When the park committee was first appointed by the town board, its thoughts were that it should have representative from the town board, representative from the village board. There should be village resident participation, town resident participation. And because the Winnicke Land Trust had the responsibility of an easement on the town park, that a representative from the land trust should participate to be sure that the planning did not allow for any violations in regard to the easement. And that is the purpose why I have participated representing the Winnicke Land Trust for so many years. So that was something that was designed by the town board. It was a decision that was made and seemed to make sense to the community for many, many years. But I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Let me say, in the interest of full disclosure, I am on the board of Winnicke. I haven't, as far as I know, participated in any discussions of Winnicke with respect to the Thompson-Mazzarella Park. If anybody would like to ask me to recuse myself, I'd certainly be happy to think about it if such a request were made.
And were you on Winnicke when you were, before you became elected to the town board?
Yes, I've been on Winnicke for many, many years, and I've drafted a number of the easements for Winnicke, but I honestly can say I don't recollect being a participant in any discussion at a Winnicke meeting or even hearing the subject come up about Thompson-Mazzarella Park.
Just for clarification, the issues discussed in regard to the park are discussed with the Eastland Committee, and Joe, you don't serve on that committee.
Okay.
So that's where the discussions happen.
All right. Any comments or further disclosures? All right, so if there's no other further comments, we'll, I talked about moving on.
Let's go through it in
I didn't
order.
realize it was on 11 anyway, so.
Yeah, let's
okay,
go
so
through.
item 1 for business, so there'll be a resolution approving abstract 10 vouchers V959 through V1032, 60 checks for $89,725.71.
Motion.
Second.
Second, was there the little change that came through at the end because it was a minor adjustment, or was that a different?
That's,
Okay, sorry.
It's what? Did you answer that?
That's not it. Okay.
All right. All right, so
So we're
motion
good.
second, all in favor, aye?
aye.
Opposed? That's so moved. Item 2 is a resolution approving capital project for 2013, abstract 6 checks for $1,008,633.10.
Motion.
Second.
And any discussion on that?
Just to point out that the reason this is so big is because the DEC grant payment came in. So what we're doing is we're taking the money that we received from DEC for Vanderburg Cove, 800 and something thousand, and we're paying that to EFC, the short-term loan that we got for the special district.
So
that's
this
why.
is a good thing.
Great news.
Yeah, it's a
Bruce.
good
That was
thing.
great news.
But here I was thinking for years it was a phantom money that we were going to get, but we
We got
actually
it.
got the check.
We should have had champagne tonight.
I'm kidding.
No, Bruce really should be
Congratulations,
congratulated
Bruce.
for
I didn't
Tom
do
for
anything. It's a long
shepherding
haul.
this
All in favor, aye?
thing through.
Aye.
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 So moved. Item 3 is a resolution approving budget transfers and amendments.
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the sale of the highway department trucks.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Kathy?
Hi, I'd like to ask actually that we possibly amend that resolution. We do have the 3 trucks, we do have the 2 trucks that we've ordered, and we do have verification that they have been built, and they are now being outfitted and plumbed for us. We hope to still take possession of them before the end of the year. So we have the other trucks that we'd like to get rid of, but I have a couple of other miscellaneous items that I also, since we're gonna put an ad in and put things out for bid, that I'd also like to include.
Okay, go ahead.
One is a sander, a small toolbox for a pickup truck, an old push mower, and an old steam jetty. So I'd like to add those items as things that we could dispose of.
What's the total on those, Kathy,
I don't know.
generally?
Well, you want to
Less
put
than
a,
500?
wait a minute, you want to put a bid out for them, right? You want to get sealed bids?
What I'd like to
Sell
do
them.
is, what I'm asking for the board tonight is the authorization to move ahead with advertising to solicit bids
Yeah, so we don't
on
wanna-
the equipment, the 3 trucks, and what I just enumerated beyond the 3 trucks.
We don't want to put a value on them then at this point because we
Okay,
don't know.
I got it, okay, got it.
Kathy, the third truck, that's what you've been using for parts,
Yes.
and, okay, we don't have any more need for any of the parts in it?
No,
or-
I think it's past what service it can provide to a department such as ours. Doesn't mean it doesn't have value out there for
Yeah.
someone else.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, with the amendments, motion and second? Oh, well, actually, all in favor with the amendments?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Could I ask that the resolution also make it clear, instead of saying to sell by auction, that it say that we solicit sealed bids? Because I think saying by auction makes it appear that we are going to do a public auction, which is not how we conduct that.
Sure.
Thank you. John, I can work on my next.
All right, item 5 is a resolution approving town hall use applications for the soccer team. Motion and second.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved.
If anyone's here to talk about the hospital expansion, or maybe you guys,
Well, let's take it in order.
I'm just saying, they should know it's across the hall. That's all.
Across the street,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, I know, but I didn't want you to waste your time. Okay.
All right, so that was the soccer team using the town hall uses. So item 6 is a resolution accepting bids for the maintenance department forklift. Accepting a bid for it, right?
Right.
Is there one bidder?
Yeah, it was the fairgrounds bid for it.
Okay. So we're accepting the bid for the maintenance forklift. Is there a motion and second?
Motion.
A second.
Bruce, you think this is fair value?
Yeah, it's lower than we thought it was, but it doesn't have a 3-stage mast, and that's what's holding it back. It's low hours, but it doesn't have that much lift and height, so we think it's fair.
Why are we getting rid of it, Bruce?
We don't really have a need for it.
So we're not going to get a request to get a new one a couple
was
years
from the
down
transfer
the
This is a
station.
transfer
Oh,
station.
transfer station,
Right,
got it.
and we
sorry.
offered it to the highway department, and they didn't have a need for it.
Okay, good.
They had occasional need.
Occasionally, but not to
Not enough
justify
to-
purchasing it at the price that you can get for it via an auction or via a bid.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Did we vote? I don't think we voted.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Item 7 is a
Get rid of that
resolution
thing.
accepting the bid for the maintenance department truck. Item 7.
Motion.
Second.
This is, I guess, Bobby's old truck, right?
Right.
So any discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Item 8, we already went through with the advertising for workforce housing. Item 9 is a resolution approving the cemetery survey map. Pertains to the Green Cemetery. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second?
Any discussion on that?
This allows us to now, they'll file it tomorrow in the county clerk's office, and they now will be able to start selling plots in the green section.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? And that's so moved. Item 10 is a resolution approving the purchase of a copier for the town clerk's office.
Motion.
A second.
Any discussion?
It's about time.
Second with amended price might be, or just with the contract attached, or from Orange County? I'm good with that.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? That's so moved. Item 11 is of Joe. Item 11.
This is a motion relating to the hospital expansion And although we don't really have any jurisdiction over it because it's in the village, I think it behooves us to weigh into the authorities who are going to make the decisions. So this resolution would read, whereas the town board is informed that HealthQuest, in connection with its Northern Dutchess Hospital, has proposed a major expansion and renovation of the hospital, which would involve removal of a substantial number of trees and grassy areas and replacement of these trees and grassy areas with a parking lot on the south and west sides of the hospital. And whereas the trees and grassy areas on the south and west side of the hospital add greatly to the beauty of the approach to the village of Rhinebeck from the north and egress on the south from the village to the town of Rhinebeck. And whereas the removal of trees and grassy areas will be visible to persons traveling at the intersection of Montgomery Street and Route 9, who will see an expanded parking lot. And whereas a substantial number of residents of Rhinebeck have complained to the town board about removal of trees and grassy areas in front of the hospital as marring the approaches to and from the village on the north. And whereas the town board has an interest in maintaining the trees and grassy areas at the hospital because the hospital is near the divide between the village and the town, and one of the goals of the comprehensive plan adopted by the town in 2009 is to maintain open space so the town can remain a rural community. And whereas the town board is informed that the Village of Rhinebeck Planning Board has issued a negative declaration under CEQA, finding that the removal of trees and grassy areas will not have a substantial effect on the environment. And whereas the town board is informed that in response to the opposition to the removal of trees and grassy areas as originally proposed, the hospital has proposed modified plans which would also remove a lesser number of trees and grassy areas than initially proposed on the south and west side of the hospital. And whereas the town board is encouraged that the hospital is in active dialogue with the village planning board and community representatives with respect to the number of trees to be removed and the size of grassy areas to be removed. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board asks the board of the village of Rhinebeck to look into the matter and do whatever it can to ensure that the proposed hospital expansion does not detract from the economic well-being and beauty of Rhinebeck, as well as the goal of the comprehensive plan adopted by the town of Rhinebeck. And be it further resolved that the town board asks the village planning board to make a thorough examination of the proposed modified plans to ensure that the maximum number of trees and grassy areas will be maintained to the extent feasible in light of the proposed renovation of the hospital. And be it further resolved that the town board directs that this resolution be sent to the board of directors of HealthQuest and to the administration of the hospital in Rhinebeck, the Village of Rhinebeck trustees, and both the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Rhinebeck. So I move that we introduce this resolution for adoption.
Second.
And Tom, I don't think you can vote on it because you've recused
Yeah, I'll
yourself.
recuse myself, but you can open it up for discussion.
We'd all talked about this. We were all in agreement with this. So, well,
I'm in agreement.
those of us that can talk about it.
So is there a second to the motion?
I seconded.
Okay. So are we in agreement?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Moving on to item 12 is a resolution authorizing myself to execute the intermunicipal agreement with snow removal and ice control services. And this is with Highway Superintendent.
Yes, this authorizes, this is the contract we enter into each year with the county for snow removal on River Road, County Road 103. We do not have the physical contract yet. It will be sent once we have the resolution, and this authorizes Tom to review the contract and sign it. It should be substantially the same as it was last year. As you know, last year it was altered a little bit from previous years, but this one should be the same as last year's.
So we are going
Thank
to
you.
remove the snow from River Road this year?
I'm sorry, I apologize. I reversed it, not River Road, Morton Road. River Road was the one that was removed
Right.
last year. Thank you for catching that, Elizabeth. Yes, it's Morton Road, 85.
So the county is going to keep River Road?
That's correct. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So a motion and second to
Motion.
approve?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
So
Aye.
moved. Okay, items for discussion is the shared recreation services with other towns.
All right, this came up, Linda Murray actually came on the rec committee, came up with some different things that rec can do, because we're trying to diversify and offer more programs to different age groups within the town, not just the normal programs. One of the ones that came up was cooking classes. And people seem to have a desire for cooking classes, and Linda suggested that we use the town hall in Milan, and because they have a great kitchen. I've never been there, but, you know, and then different people talking, we thought about it, and we said, you know, we could probably, we have facilities that the other towns don't have, and so we could offer some kind of a discount to them to use our facilities, our programs and our facilities, if we had an intermunicipal agreement with them. Right now, we charge them basically double of what we charge the local people. And that's because of the tax subsidies and that kind of thing. So while we've driven our programs to where they're really not subsidized anymore, they're not getting the out of Rhinebeck, the non-resident participation that we probably could get if we were to make something attractive to other towns. But we would do that through a shared services agreement with them, give them other towns a discount based on what they have to offer. This is just, we're just floating the idea. The first test case would be with Milan, and you know, we'd like to be able to offer them like 10% off of a camp or something like that. And we were going, what, the 21st, was it? I think it was the 21st. Yeah. I think it was to their town board to see what's going on. But, you know, if you think about it, Rhinebeck's got a lot of stuff that a lot of facilities that other towns don't have. We're still cheaper than a lot of people. But when it was cheaper before, when they were paying pretty much the same price as residents, our attendance was much higher.
You're talking about camp
Well, camp, pool.
or any of
Yeah. You know, season pass is significantly more for a non-resident. And we did that because we were sensitive to what our taxpayers were saying. But now we've adjusted the costs over these last few years, and we're getting it to where the programs are not as heavily subsidized as they
So it's
used to
the
be.
fine line between charging a fee and getting the volume, between
Right, we're gonna bring in more revenue if.
by having more volume.
Right,
Pine
right.
Plains could use us. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have.
but again, you can't just, in my mind, the point of this discussion is we're not just going to offer it to anybody unless we can get something back.
I think it's a
Well,
good
I
idea.
did teach after-school baking for about 10 to 12 years, and that was always in the elementary school, and then I moved to the middle school and did it with some groups there, and then the continuing ed people reached out and asked me to do it for adults, and we had people from Tivoli, Red Hook, Pine Plains, and it was all done in the elementary school kitchen. And we did that for maybe 3 years. So it's possible to do, and there is an interest. I just didn't have time to continue doing it, but
Well,
it's been done.
As we go through the budget, there's, down in the bottom in the adult education section and some other things, there's different things we're trying. We put in there, again, they're break-even kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
The revenue is going to wipe out the cost.
Right.
So.
I think it makes an even bigger case for us to have a full-time rec director to oversee this as we expand.
A regular part-time.
Right.
Thank you. A year-round part-time, but year-round rec director. It's
Ongoing.
So, is there any, I mean, we haven't gotten to, well, we'd come up with IMAs once we got farther into this,
I
talking
think
to
it's
different.
interesting. I think it's,
Is there any major resistance to this?
I think we have to actually look at a proposal. You know, we did have a proposal from 2 neighboring towns to share our dog pound, and we decided it was really not advantageous to
Right.
us to do it. So without a specific proposal, it's hard to judge. I kind of like the idea of rotating around. So if one town has a good kitchen, let's do it there and offer it to residents of all the towns. I don't know if you're thinking that Rhinebeck would host everything and
No.
we're selling our service to everybody.
No, we would go there, they would, you know, we'd share. That's what we're saying. Where are you going, Joe? Stop harassing the people.
Yeah, leave them.
All right, so you're not violently opposed at this time because you haven't got anything definite to look at?
Certainly like to.
either violently or non-violently
I think it's
opposed.
good. Is that group, who was that, the continuing ed people? Is that something we need to talk
That's,
to? Are they still doing it, or?
In Red Hook?
now, Rhinebeck, the basketball and volleyball for adults at night. So far, it seems to be going, although I haven't seen any checks from them. I have to get back to Tom, whoever the business manager is, and find out what's going on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No, I think it's a good idea.
So, we're out to my land.
All right. Now, what about an acceptance of a gift from the Rhinebeck Garden Club, item 2 for discussion?
That's great. Do we have the memo, the email?
They suggested holiday bunting and greenery,
Wreaths.
which is super nice. I think it's great, but here's my thing. If they want to donate something, why not something permanent that we're not just going to throw in the trash after the holidays?
It's green, it's boughs, beautiful evergreen.
Well, I know that, but they just suggested, they said we had half a dozen different ideas. This is one of them. I was kind of wondering, do we want something that's more permanent?
Like a gift horse?
Very good.
All
Touche,
right.
Bruce.
Okay, all right. I'm all for it.
All right, so.
I'd love me some bows.
We're not approving the acceptance here, are we? John, was there a? I don't
I'm
think,
looking for the
Well,
email.
they hadn't voted on it yet.
They haven't, okay, so
Right,
so
but-
we'll have to wait till the next meeting to do that, so.
Right.
Because my only question is, we just, once they formulate exactly what they want to give us, we run it by Warren just to make sure we haven't crossed any lines.
Sure.
Okay, so,
Okay.
any further discussion before executive session? So, okay, I don't think there's any playoffs on tonight. The Yankees aren't in anyway, so it doesn't matter, yeah.
Did
Okay, so,
Detroit win?
I guess there's a
So I make a
Executive session?
motion that we go into executive
It's a
session.
day game.
for personnel matters?
Yes,
Particular person, or matter? Okay.
I see it on the
Aye.
agenda, that's all.
It's short
Did we, okay, you guys do have
and
something?
no action,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Thank you.